Hi guys, so here we are over in Photoshop, where today I'm going to walk you through my technique or my process for doing any edits requiring skin retouching, which is the majority of the work that I do. If we look here under our Actions palette, you will have a folder labeled Mack Photo Skin Retouch and the Mack Photos Skin Retouch action just below. And we will click run. If you remember previous episodes, I showed you how to set up frequency separation layers. So there will be a couple things that we will confirm once we run the action. The Gaussian blur, we just hit enter or OK. Apply image, we'll hit enter or OK. As you notice, the image went from color to black and white. The reason for that is this top layer here, this black and white layer. I often will use a black and white image, which gives me a little better contrast as I'm going through and doing retouching. So I'm able to see what's being applied to the image as I go along. It's a preference if you use this black and white layer or not. You can turn it on or off. It has no effect on the skin retouching process that you're doing. It's really just a preference. So if we look at the layers, the way we do this, the way I work with these layers, once I run this action, is I work from the bottom up. Okay. This first layer would be the low frequency layer of a frequency separation. The next layer up is the high frequency or the texture layer of the frequency separation layer. We will do a majority of our skin retouching on this texture high frequency layer. The next layer up is just a blank layer. Any spot healing that we might want to do after doing the frequency separation retouch, we can do here on the black layer. The next two layers are going to be a dodge and a burn layer. So any balancing of tones that we may need to do to the image, we have a dodge which lightens areas, or a burn which darkens areas. So let's get started here. We are going to start with a high frequency separation layer here. Select your clone stamp tool. Ensure that the flow is at 100% and that the sample is set to current layer. I'm using two monitors here, so let's see if I can pull this over so that you can see. Okay, here we go. So when we select the clone stamp tool, we want to make sure that the flow is at 100% and that our sample is on current layer. Okay. We'll go back to our image here and we'll start. So what we'll do, we'll use the clone stamp. We're going to start on the arm here. We will click Alt to select an area and begin doing some cleanup. As you notice, we're just going through. You don't have to be so detailed with this, because with frequency separation, the areas that you're sampling from provide texture as we go through. We just want to select areas in the general vicinity of the areas we're healing, so that we have some consistency there as far as the textures. Keep in mind, with frequency separation, this does not affect the color or tone. So we're only dealing with the texture here. If we look at the underarm area here, notice that we're getting rid of some of the texture, but the tone is still there. And I'll show you how we'll fix that later. That's where those dodge and burn layers come in at. So We'll zoom in and start working on the face here. Now in this image, you'll see that our subject has a lot of texture to the face, which that's a good thing. I really like to have subjects with good texture. So in our skin retouching, we're really looking to address those areas of imperfections, inconsistencies. We're not looking at completely eradicating or getting rid of texture, but more so really smoothing out the imperfections there. Okay, so I'm going to go through with the doing some clone stamping and repair with our frequency separation layer. I will kind of fast forward this video and catch up with you when we move to the next step. Okay, so here we are. We've basically gone through and I've done a pretty quick job of the texture layer of our frequency separation as far as doing cleanup with that layer. I do just a bit of just quick touch up here around the lips. All right, so now we'll move to the next step. Next thing I do is I will go to this blank layer and select my spot healing tool and use the spot healing tool to go around and just do some real quick touch up little areas of inconsistency that I might do. The trick with using either your frequency separation, doing the clone stamping there, or with this spot healing tool is really to use a small a small brush here, because there again what's important is we want to maintain texture. Texture is what gives skin that brilliance and detail, so we don't want to go through and just completely wipe out the texture. The spot healing tool does work better, especially around edges like the eyebrows here, as far as doing some cleanup around edges. So we can use our spot healing tool there. The reason that I use the texture layer of the frequency separation, it does a great job there. Again, it actually samples texture, not tone. So whenever I'm healing an area, I'm adding texture back to that area, whereas the spot healing tool really does not do that. But it does do a better job when working around edges, for example, like around the nose and the cheek area here. I wouldn't be able to get in very close with the frequency separation clone healing, because it would cause a bit of an artifact, whereas the spot healing tool does a great job when working around those edges. Like this little darkened area around the lip there. Okay. And we'll do just a bit more here, and we'll say we're done for now. Just going through showing you a real quick rough edit here. Okay, so now we've done our skin retouching. The next thing we want to do is kind of balance out some of the areas. If we look at the arm here, we cleaned up the area underneath the arm, but oftentimes when we have such a large area like this to clean up, notice the discoloration. And naturally this area, it's not exposed to sun as much as the arms and the chest are. So it tends to be a lighter area or a darker area. If you notice, it has a bit of a green tint to it because it was a darker area. We went in and did some cleanup to it, and now we're going to do some dodging to get rid of this darkish shadowy area here. Now when doing this, what we want to do, we want to select our dodge layer. We're going to select our brush. When I do this, I start off with a round hard brush, and what we want to do here is we want to make sure that our flow is set to 1. So if your flow is set to 100, where it's usually set, make sure we bring the flow of this brush all the way down to 1. Okay. And back to our image, we'll zoom in a bit here. And make sure that our layer is set to white. We're going to paint white in on this layer to begin to lighten it. So we'll begin to paint white and to lighten this area. And very minute faint touches. There again, I'm using a Wacom tablet, which makes this a whole lot easier. And we want to really just try to balance this area out. Now, the discoloration that occurs here, we're not going to cover during this particular episode, but for those of you that are interested, I will show you how we go through and balance out the skin tones here in areas like this. So, here again, we will start with some of the smaller areas of discoloration using I am using a hard edge brush for this. Okay, and once we have most of the areas, the smaller areas, will increase our brush just a bit to start to clean up more of an area. And there, we'll increase our brush even more to begin to balance out that whole area. And this area is almost done here. And any of the little splotchy areas that you see that occur here, we can always open up a new blank layer and go in with the spot healing tool to fix those little splotchy areas, and this cleans up beautifully like that. Not going to go through that since that would be opening up a new layer, and really want to just basically demonstrate the skin retouching components here. And with that dodge layer, the thing that I really like working in this capacity is that we have control. So if I want to increase or decrease the opacity to maybe match the tone a little better, I can do that as well. So really a non-destructive, quick, fast, easy way to work. You can always go back and make adjustments. I really like that. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to group all those layers that we have here in a folder, so we can take a look at our before and after here. So this is our image before, and then this is the image after some skin retouching. So the before and the after. So you can see we've made quite a bit of a difference just with the skin retouching alone. Now, I always use a skin softening application or layer after I've done skin healing this way. There are several skin softening applications out there, some great skin softening actions or applications that I found. There is a application called Pro Retouch. They have fabulous skin retouching or skin softening layers there, as well as Nick software. During a previous video tutorial, I discussed Nick software, and it's a completely free download, so you try out the Nick software. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually run skin softening. I'm going to run the skin softening application here from the Nick software. So here is our image imported into Nick software. The top is a before skin softening. The bottom is the after skin softening. I have a preset skin softening application that I use here in Nick software, where I use the dynamic skin softener as well as a glamour glow layer. With this, I want to bring the saturation down so that we match the tone of our original image. I'm going to push the glow warmth just a bit. Let's go to our single view screen. So I'm going to push the warmth just a little bit here and take the control panel and bring the glow down just a bit. And there we go. I hit OK. It's going to bring us back to our image in Photoshop with the skin softening applied. Okay, so here we are back over in Photoshop with the skin softening applied. Here again, the thing I really like about the Nick software is I'm able to go in and dial up or down the level of skin softening or any of the processing that I've applied to this image. So just a great way to work that keeps you in control as you're working through your edits here. I'm going to add that skin softening layer to that folder so that we can look at the before and after here now. Okay, so that's our before image and the after. The before and after. Now, there are obviously other things that we need to do to this image. As I mentioned, balancing the color of the area we worked on underneath the arm, as well as there would be some additional spot healing that I would do to this area. Obviously, we have to address the eyes. So look forward to an upcoming episode where we'll go into details. I will show you how we go in and we'll fix the veins, the red streaky areas in the eyes. We'll do some cleanup to the whites of the eyes and really do some highlights and make the eyes pop, give it some brightness, some life. So until the next time, get out there, get shooting, make every shot count.